Well, while the cops are down there in the basement there with all the other cars, they're so advanced, these cars are, that they have to turn on and turn off again in order to recharge the batteries. Well, of course, those are the advanced cars that they're driving around in, but the heating and cooling and the HVAC system is not advanced. So what happens is you have a buildup of carbon monoxide. Well, while Sergeant Hockett is sitting in his car and he's typing, he notices he gets a little bit of a headache and gets a little lightheaded. He says, this isn't healthy. So then he talks to the other cops. They're like, yeah, this isn't good. So then Dave, being a sergeant, looking out for his guys, goes out and buys a carbon monoxide tester, and he buys the most expensive he can get because he really wants it to be able to give good numbers. And he starts taking pictures of it, and he's keeping track. He's got the time and the date. He takes the paperwork to his superiors and says, guys, the stuff down there isn't clean. The air isn't good. Here, look at this level. Look at this level. And these are the different times that everybody's reporting. Well, he gives it to the people, and he figures at that point they would step in and say, well, this is unhealthy for other officers, and now they're made aware of the fact that there's carbon monoxide down there, and it could be dangerous, and it maybe could even be lethal for these officers if they're going out onto the street onto a call and they're lightheaded or they're having trouble dealing with stress. This could be really a bad situation. You would think at that point the Seattle Police Department would step in and say, we got to do something, make sure that our officers are healthy. That is their responsibility as their employer. Well, yes, truly, they did nothing. And when Hockett, who happened to also try to be applying for transfers, he wanted to get out of being on patrol there, so he tried to get to the mounted patrol because he knows how to ride a horse. He's from Oregon. They're like, nope. And then Hockett says, well, how about Harbor? I transfer to Harbor. Nope. He finds it kind of strange because he's got a really good record. And when he does say, well, listen, I think it's odd that I'm not making these advances, he ends up getting an attorney involved. And that's where Sumeer Singla comes in. And that's where you are, because you and I have been talking about this story for 3 years. And Hockett kept saying to me, don't do anything. Wait till Sumeer brings this thing forward. So I've set it up somewhat clunkily, but you get the basic idea. I've got some of the facts together there, right? So what happens when you come in and you are working with Sergeant Hockett? What do you find?
So, John, you got a lot of the facts.
Okay, good.
You got a lot of the facts there.
Okay.
So Sergeant Hockett and I started working together, and we started working together in 2020, 2021 for his lawsuit.
Okay.
And then we took that all the way to a jury trial. And in that jury trial, what the jury found was, the city was in fact negligent, and it was harming its officers who were down there in the underground garage being exposed to carbon monoxide. And Sergeant Hockett became essentially the test case. Even the lawyers on the other side agreed that he's the test case. For now, what we have is a class action lawsuit.
But aren't there two kind of stink bombs on this? So the hostile work environment. So you guys end up getting, through disclosure and discovery, you find out there's emails. So when he goes to apply for a transfer to another department, they're like, oh, that's the guy with the carbon monoxide thing. Screw him. Not their words, but I don't know if they said that or not. That they wouldn't advance him because he was a troublemaker.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad. He was having pictures left on his cubicle. He was being called all sorts of names. He was pretty much, as they joked around, he was dead man walking in the precinct. So he couldn't advance anywhere. And that was one of the claims that we brought. And the jury agreed that he was subject to a hostile work environment because he kept on raising the issue of carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
So,
well, he's a very sensitive individual, too.
He's a great guy. I know.
I'm only kidding. He is a great guy. Listen,
he's also a giant. I can't imagine other cops making fun of him.
Well, who else was making fun? But so was it when in Discovery, did you actually see that they were saying that we're not going to advance this guy? Did they actually write that? Were they that dumb to write out, this is the guy with the carbon monoxide, don't advance him?
It wasn't that bad. But before I go, I mean, I just want to say Sergeant Hockett is a commendable officer.
Yes, he is.
And one of the things that the jury noted that we pointed out is the series of commendations he's gotten. I mean, let me put it this way. This man saves lives.
Yes, he does.
We had videos of him saving lives and getting somebody off of the Aurora Bridge when they were trying to commit suicide, him saving lives of somebody who was overdosing. Then he administers naloxone to them.
He's a great guy. I watched him. I was doing ride along one night. I watched him talk to a guy that was trying to kill himself.
Yeah.
And he said, Curley, you wait in the car. Oh, it was, and he gets in the car and said, how was it? He goes, I don't want to talk about it right now.
Yeah.
Great guy. All right, go ahead.
With that, what we found was the command staff was pretty much everybody's a cop. They know how to document stuff. But what we could find was the command staff definitely was singling out Sergeant Hockett and saying, this is the guy, he's a troublemaker, you need to make sure that you take care of him. And then his direct command staff would bring him into the office, shut the door, and basically yell at him. And he would come out, and we had other officers testify that he would walk out of that closed-door meeting, shoulders drawn, head down, and just completely drained of all energy to do the work.
Yeah.
And that's why they found hostile work environment for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he kept going. And again, I knew because I would talk to him all the time. He kept going. And I said, Dave, just quit. Just quit. And he goes, no, I signed up to help people.
Yeah.
And that's how he is. Then he got to a point once he got you involved and they went to court and then they find out. So there's two. So one is the hostile work environment, but the other one is it's an unhealthy working environment because of the carbon monoxide, which now leads us to the fact that there's a civil suit.
There's a civil class action suit that the class was certified. That means that the judge has said that, yes, there is a class of people that qualify as being harmed who are officers worked in the West Precinct. The city tried to dismiss the case on procedural grounds. The Court of Appeals just 3 weeks ago now, said, nope, that's not going to work. Go ahead and try your lawsuit. So now we're on our way. We're going to try the lawsuit. We're going to get all the class members to sign up. And then we're going to go forward and make sure that the city actually recognizes that what it's doing to its officers is hurting them and it's hurting the public.
You can also show, didn't they bring some expert in from California to test the air? I think it's Dave. I remember the story. They bring some guy in from California to test the air. He then notices that they've jacked up the fans far beyond where they normally are. And I think he said, listen, you're changing you're moving the goalposts. I'm going to leave. You're wasting my time. Don't do this to me. I'm an expert in this field, and you're monkeying around with how much you're taking out of the air.
Yeah, that was our expert. That was an amazing evening where we go in, and before we went in, we told the department, you have to have it at the same environment as it is all the times. Our expert goes in, and the first thing he says is, hey, the fan is at high. And what I'm reading, otherwise, it's never supposed to be at high. So they're trying to circulate more air in than they should be. We had to go to court, and the court actually sanctioned the city and said, no, you got to do it again. Yeah. So when they did it the right way, the second time, one of the things the experts do is they do a smoke test. You may have seen it. They just take a puff of smoke. Yeah. And it's visible, and see if it moves. Okay. When he did the smoke test, and the jury saw this. Yeah. It just stayed. It didn't move at all, right? Yeah. And the argument that the city keeps making is, oh, no, everything is fine because we have fans in there and it moves the air completely okay, I guess. Yeah. But it's one of those, what are you going to believe? Your lying eyes, which is like there is smoke there, or are you going to believe the city? And the jury for us was like, no, we're going to believe what we see, which is the smoke is not moving.
Were you surprised? I know I just talked to Dave a little bit about it. I didn't talk much about it. We never brought it up on the air, although I did see it on Como, by the way. I think that also sort of hurt him was the city trying to go after his character during that part of it with, the hostile work environment. And it's just like, God, they're trying anything they can on this to try to knock me down in order to soil my reputation in front of the jury. And I think it really hurt him. And because he's a great guy. And again, he was kind of quiet on the stuff with me. Wouldn't say much because he knows I blab about it on the air. And we didn't talk about it for 3 years. We never brought it up. We never brought it up. So at this point, you have 200. Do you think more officers will join?
We have 200 identified. We need those officers to actually come in and join when we send the class notice. But that was between 2020 and 2023. Okay. Now we're in 2026, right? So we need...
Wait, they haven't fixed it yet?
They have not fixed it yet, John. They have, and I'll tell you what it would require to fix this thing. Yeah. 2 industrial fans is all they need, but they won't do it.
Do they not fix it because that would be admitting guilt?
I don't know.
You used to work there. You worked in the law department there in Seattle. Why don't they fix it? I mean, they're opening themselves up to even more people that could become sick.
Look, as lawyers, you give advice, right? But it's something that you brought up, right? Is what the politics of that department, especially the Seattle Police Department, are any given time. They badmouth Dave, and they try to make him look like some officer who he wasn't, that he was just complaining because he was too sensitive.
Yeah.
And, he was like basically nattering Nelly or something like that.
Right.
And we've been telling them for a long time. We put it in the case with Sergeant Hockett. It didn't work. I mean, to this day, they can fix it. I don't know why somebody's not going there and doing it. I can't tell you.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like if you owned a restaurant in the ice machine that had ice coming out of the bottom, that, and people slipping and falling and hitting their heads, and you're like, don't fix the ice machine. I don't understand it.
Right. I mean, let's use the example of your water heater, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your water heater, somebody says you need to have a catch pan just in case the water goes out.
Yeah.
Right? And if most people would put that catch pan underneath their water heater because you want to be just in case, it's that simple. They're just not doing it.
Okay, which is good for you because now, well, not good for the people that's unhealthy, but for you, it makes it so much easier to be able to go, look, it's there, it's still happening, the carbon monoxide count is still high. Do you have other police officers stepping in with the same type of devices Dave had?
Not the same type of devices, but what the other police officers are doing they're calling me. As I was driving down here, I talked to a police officer who was explaining to me that she's been working there since March of 2020, and she's going into her shift. We were talking as she's walking into her shift tonight.
Yeah.
And she says, I know I'm going to walk into that shift, and I'm going to have a headache after I'm done out getting my car ready to go out on the street.
Right. So again, it's at the West Precinct. The cars turn on and off in order to recharge the batteries because there's so much electronics that have to be there, but they don't have the infrastructure needed, just two big fans, as you describe it, to be able to move the air up and out. So the officers sit there. Are they still being told to do their paperwork in the basement?
They have no choice. That's where their car is. So you got to understand, it takes about 20 minutes for an officer to get ready to go out there. They got to go in the car. They got to
test the cameras and
all that stuff. So imagine 30 cars, 20 to 30 cars running in a space where you don't have adequate ventilation, and you're there for 30 minutes, and you're going to get a headache. You're going to have those symptoms come up. When we are in an underground garage and we walk by a car that's running, and that's for maybe a couple of minutes, and you kind of like, oh, I smell car exhaust, and you kind of get lightheaded. Right. Now that 2 minutes gets you that way. Now imagine having it done for 30 minutes.
Right.
And that's in the beginning of their shift and at the end of their shift.
Because then it opens up to okay, so let's take the hypothetical that the officer sits in there 20 minutes, he's inhaling, she or he is inhaling this stuff, then he goes out on a call, goes to get out of the car to go, chase somebody, apprehend somebody, and doesn't have the lung capacity, and then there's a whole bunch of other problems that go with this. I mean, this is like if you were watching this on television, you'd be like, oh, come on. Like somebody that would be in charge would fix it. So, okay, hypothetical again, but maybe not. And I'm not holding you to it. How big's the check going to have to be? Do you think that the city is going to have to write? I'm sorry, not the city. The taxpayers of the city of Seattle will have to write.
So let me say one thing.
Okay.
What we did find in the discovery when we did Sergeant Hockett's case were emails saying, look, the issue of the carbon monoxide is so bad that somebody is going to get hurt. That was put in an email.
That's from the city?
That's not only from the city, but also from the Seattle Fire Department. So those emails are already there, that somebody's going to get hurt. Now, as far as, look, I live in this city. I'm a Seattle City taxpayer.
Right.
And at some point, the city is going to, the only way we can make change at this point is for the city to pay money so that the policymakers do it. Sergeant Hockett, I think the jury awarded approximately over $100,000 for his damages. I don't know what each of the individual officers' damages are going to be, but the city has an opportunity here. I mean, they can work with us. They can try to resolve this issue. First and foremost, fix the garage. Secondly, compensate the officers for what they've suffered and maybe get ahead of it. But we're hoping that the city will do it. They're just not paying attention to it.
Is there an advantage for you because you used to be a lawyer on the other side working in the city of Seattle?
Well, the advantage is I understand what the Seattle Police Department does. I used to work in the West Precinct for 2 years, so I know that building. Mm-hmm. I was in that building for 2 years myself. It's changed. I mean, politics changed. We have a new mayor. We have a new officer. But I understand the inner workings of how command staff works and what the different ranks are. which helps me be able to communicate better with the officers.
Yeah.
It helps me be able to get trust from the officers instead of some lawyer who doesn't understand SPD or doesn't know
coming
what
in
they're
with a
doing.
scarf on or something. So at this point, what's the next step? When does it move forward? Can we continue to watch Como News as it advances?
The next step is we're going to have a class notice. So
Okay.
we're working on language, and then we're going to go and reach out to the officers and see if they want to join or not. It's called opt-out. So if they don't opt out, they're automatically in.
Right, that's
so
it.
that's what it is. And the other thing I'll tell you is the next update, I'm calling you.
Okay. Talk is cheap, except if you're billing at $300 an hour or something like. All right, Sumeer, listen. You held Dave's hand through this really, really difficult time in his life. You were there with him every step of the way. He's retired, which is not good for me because he's a big pain in the butt. Calls me every once in a while. We have at least dinner 2 or 3 times a month, and he needs something to do. He's got to get out there and do something because he still had a whole lot of caring to give this city, and they screwed him over.
Well, this is what I can tell you about Sergeant Hockett, Dave Hockett. Through this time period, even before that, he's become one of my closest friends.
Yeah, he's good.
And it was an honor to represent him and his family. You can have dinner with him.
Yes.
I don't want to hear him complain about it, so he's all yours for that.